everybody, it's Sarah, and today I have a good friend with me.
Hi!
This is Josie, and I mentioned it already a bunch of times. We recently buddy read The Familiars together because you got back into reading.
Yes, I got back into reading this year after like 7 years of not really reading anything at all, except for when I had to read for university, so...
And so then we went to the bookstore, and this cover is beautiful,
It's
and
really pretty.
it sounds really interesting. I mean, it sounded really interesting. So we read it, and now we're going to review it, and the way we're gonna do it is, of course, first I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the book, then we're gonna talk spoiler-free thoughts. Would we recommend the book? Wouldn't we recommend the book? And then we're gonna get into a bit of a discussion, which might be interesting because we generally have the same opinion about the book, but for kind of different reasons.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be interesting. But first, let's talk what this book is about. This book is a historical fiction novel that is set at the beginning of the 17th century in northern England, I think. Lancashire. Lancashire?
Lancashire?
Somewhere in the north of England.
Yes.
And it actually follows real life witch trials, the Pendle witch trials that happened in history. We follow a young main character named Fleetwood who is pregnant for the 4th time. She is a young wife. However, her first 3 pregnancies were miscarriages, and it looks like this one might be as well. And if it is, then she's most likely going to die. Now, she meets Alice Gray, who is a young midwife who tells her that she can help Fleetwood keep the baby and keep her life. Obviously, I said this is set during witch trials. Alice, as a midwife, is accused of being a witch, and we follow Fleetwood as she tries to help Alice keep her life. And so yeah, that's basically what it's about. So, negative thoughts first.
Okay. First and foremost, I think we judge the book based on the first impression we get. And for me, the first impression was that the book was written from a first-person perspective, which I tend to not like as much. I understand why the author had to do it, because I guess it's the easiest way for the reader to connect with the characters in the book and to have the most intimate view of a character's thoughts and their perspective. This can be achieved through different means as well, but the easiest way for sure to do it would be first-person narration. Personally, I am not a fan of it. It can easily sound a bit amateurish. I don't think it did necessarily for this book. I think the writer was still really, really good and knew what she was doing, and she did make a well-written book. But yeah, my first impression of that was already, I was unsure if I would actually like it or not from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind first-person perspective, but it's not my favorite by a long shot. Although, also, I think what I haven't mentioned yet is this is a debut novel. Yeah. And I think for a debut novel,
it's really good.
It's really good, and I'm definitely excited and want to read more by the author, because I think she can improve a lot.
Definitely. I've seen seasoned writers who wrote way worse than she did in her debut novel.
I mean, I didn't have that many concrete negative things in the main part of the novel. Mostly it was just things that there wasn't enough stuff of what I liked. There wasn't enough interactions between Alice and Fleetwood. There wasn't enough magical realism elements, which I did really enjoy. There's a lot of magical realism in this book. You're kind of not really sure, is this a historical fiction novel and just the witches, it's all bullshit obviously, or are they actually witches? And there wasn't enough of that in there. And then the main thing, of course, the ending.
Yes.
Which we're gonna discuss more in depth later on, obviously, because it's spoilers. But the ending does really pull the book down.
A lot.
And, I mean, I had an easier time ignoring it because I felt like it was kind of more of an epilogue thing than an actual ending thing. And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna ignore the epilogue. But still,
I was mad about it.
She was really mad about it.
I was really mad about it.
Got pages long messages.
Yeah, I was ranting about it. I was ranting about the book to another friend the next day because I was so angry at the end because we could have had it all rolling in the deep.
Yeah. But alas, it should not be. However, personally, I still would say the rest of the novel is worth picking it up. Like, if you're aware that the ending is gonna be shit, and if you have those expectations already, then I would say still pick it up, because I think the rest of the novel actually, if you can ignore a like less than stellar ending, then I would still say as a whole, the novel is worth it.
There's definitely a lot of good things about the book.
Yeah.
Definitely.
First of all, again, it's like in the connection with the things that weren't enough. The relationship between Fleetwood and Alice,
Yes, that was amazing.
Beautifully written, and kind of their, like, the development of the relationship. Love that so much. And also the magical realism elements I really enjoyed.
I think with the relationship, even though, like we mentioned before, it's not a sapphic relationship, but so rarely, and I think you addressed this as well when we talked, there's not often books with very nicely written female friendships, and this book definitely has it.
It was
beautiful.
At the beginning of the book, I was like, I want it to be sapphic, and then a little bit into the relationship, I started being like, okay, I actually don't want it to turn sapphic. I want this to be just the relationship between the two characters, because it's so beautiful.
It's really, really well written.
And also, as a whole, Fleetwood is one of the best written female characters, like character arc and development wise, that I have read recently. Because she starts out as this really shy young girl. She's 17, by the way, which is just crazy. She was married with 14 and already was pregnant 3 times, and she's 17 at the beginning of the novel. She doesn't really know who she is as a person. I didn't feel like it, and actually that's why I then also liked first person narration, because you kind of got the development a bit more
directly.
So she starts out as this really timid little girl who can't really talk against her husband, can't talk against her mother, can't like really say what she wants. But she's also really interesting. What I found so interesting about her is, even as this timid person, she's someone who loves going out, and she's like, no, I'm gonna go out. I don't care what anyone else says. I'm gonna just
enjoy the outside.
Yeah. And then, like, throughout the novel, she just develops.
Yeah.
So she gets a lot more self-assured and gets a lot more agency. And I love that. So I think that was very well done, and it's also in connection with why we didn't like the ending, sadly. So yeah, that was it. Do you have anything else spoiler-free to say?
I mean, we can also see how many stars we gave the book.
Ah yeah, right. The star rating. I was very much like caught between giving it 4 stars and 3.5 stars. When I talked to Josie, I then thought that I had given it 4 stars, but then it turned out I had only given it 3.5 stars after all. So yeah, it would have definitely been like a 4 to 4.5 star book if it hadn't been for the ending.
I at first thought, okay, it's between 3 and 4 stars for me right after I finished it. But I decided because of the ending I would give it 3 stars. But I was still considered a 3.5 star book. But then when I was still ranting about it the next day, I realized, okay, no, it's a 3-star book, because I cannot ignore the ending, or because for me it isn't just a part that like doesn't fit with the rest of the book, but it's a part that kind of actively ruins what had happened before for me.
That does happen, sadly. But yeah, that was it for the spoiler-free part. So if you do not want to be spoiled for the book, then
don't watch this.
Don't watch this. Don't watch this. And yeah, I think we're going to mainly talk about the ending. Is there anything like spoilery about the...
I mean, can I just say that I want Richard and Roger to die?
Yeah, but I think that's positive. that's something positive about the book.
Yeah.
Because like the antagonists, you just hate so much.
Yes, and they're
But
men.
but it's not a love to hate
No.
type of thing. They're very much not interesting characters. But
They're assholes. Can I say assholes?
You can say
They're assholes.
You can curse however you want.
Okay.
So yeah, now on to the spoilery stuff. So if you haven't read the book, then please click away. Yeah, the ending was just... I mean, the thing I have with the ending is you have the ending and you're thinking, yay, it ended well. Because I honestly didn't know until the very end how it would end. If it would end with like Fleetwood also ending up in the... Was it the tower or something?
Yeah, the tower.
Ending up in the tower and being killed as a witch, or
Just Alice
dying and Fleetwood leading a sad life, or Alice dying and Fleetwood dying in childbirth. Like,
Or everyone dying. Alice, the
Everyone.
child, and Fleetwood.
I honestly didn't know, and I think that was positive. And I mean, I'm a masochistic person. Like, there was this little part in me that wanted it to be just like this huge tragedy and everyone dying.
I kind of could have seen it happening. I'm not sure if... I think actually if it had happened in a way that everyone died or someone died, because no one dies, I would have maybe liked the ending more. Like, if not necessarily the baby dies, I kind of wished for the baby to live, but if maybe as a consequence Fleetwood and Alice would have died, both of them, I think it would have been in a way really symbolic, and I think it would have made the ending better for me.
Yeah. Or even like maybe Fleetwood managing to save Alice but then dying herself in childbed and with the baby or whatever. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I think I don't have as big of an issue with the ending is because generally I think it was the only option to have a happy ending. Because you couldn't have had Fleetwood divorce Richard.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened.
So if Alice survives and Fleetwood survives, she kind of needs to stay with Richard.
Yeah.
However, the thing I did not like, which I think you also didn't
I
like,
absolutely hated it,
is that she doesn't seem so happy with Richard.
Yeah, because the thing is, Richard is a two-timing hoe. And I mean, can I say hoe?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can say everything.
Because, I mean, I guess at that time, men tended to have a lot of mistresses and whatever, but I don't think it was okay. I didn't think it was okay at all, because the way he was treating her, as soon as he got another wife, and then he kept on lying to her about it, and like everyone kept lying to her about it and kind of assuming that she wouldn't find out about it. And yeah, in the end, she kind of forgives him, and even though she had regained like so much agency and she had become this autonomous person that goes out and explores and does shit on her own, suddenly at the end she's like, oh, I know he has a mistress and I know she also got a baby, but I don't really care about that. I'm just going to pretend like it doesn't happen when he goes away.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I mean, the thing is, I know that like 5 years passed in between. So I think if they had changed a little bit about the ending, and if they had showed Richard changing more like earlier in the book, and not just at the very end when she's about to die and then run to the trial. I think if we had seen more of a change, it would have been really interesting, and I would have been okay with the ending. Even them being like friendly, them maybe not having a second child, but like having one child and being friendly and living that polite family life.
Yeah.
But it was just like so
it was
romanticized.
Yes, it was so romanticized. It was so on the nose romanticized. And like you said before, you don't see a change in Richard at all until the very end. In fact, until quite towards the end, he betrays Fleetwood again. Like, he has betrayed her more than once.
Yeah.
Not just with the cheating, but like when she tries to save Alice, he doesn't help her. In fact, he goes against her wishes to make things harder for her.
Yeah.
And he's just been an asshole throughout the whole book. And then at the end, it's like everything is forgiven because she has gotten this baby.
That's kind of the issue. I mean, I did still find it a power move when she burned down her old family home.
Yeah.
I just love pyromaniac women. It's just amazing. But yeah, it's also funny because I had like really big issues with Richard, even though he was like very much a man of his time, kind of the way he was written. But I didn't have as many issues with Fleetwood's mother. I kind of loved her. I mean, she was a bitch.
By the end, I kind of liked her.
But she was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm giving you what I can as a woman.
Yeah. What I didn't quite like was how they have had issues throughout the whole entire book. They had a very complicated relationship. And then at the end, there's just like one scene after she gets the baby where all of their issues kind of get resolved. And this is one thing that I personally also didn't like about the book as much, which you didn't have so much of a problem with. The thing with the baby. So the thing with the baby is, while she's pregnant, there's moments where, I mean, generally you can, in my opinion, you cannot say that she wanted this baby. Because to me it read as, like from the beginning, she has to have this baby. Because in this baby it depends, like, is she going to be a proper wife? Is she going to be worth something to society, worth something to her husband? It very much depended on that baby and on her carrying it till the end and not having a miscarriage. So there's like moments and scenes where you can see that she's like, okay, I have this thing now. Either you die or I die. It's kind of shitty, but I guess we have to go until the end. You might kill me. Not sure if I want to die, but I guess. So to me, her feelings towards the baby, you cannot concretely say that she wanted it. And so it annoyed me to the end, when at the very end, as soon as she gets the baby, it's like everything is solved. Everything is resolved. She suddenly has worth. Her and Richard are fine. Her mother is good with her. It feels very much like all this agency that she tried to regain and all the autonomy she tried to regain throughout the book, where during a larger part of the book, towards the end, her focus doesn't become carrying the baby till the end, but saving Alice and saving the other woman who are put in this tower and suffering. And I love that. I love how she's like, I will do this because those are innocent women. And they come from poverty and they come from hard situations, and it's not fair that they're being put in this tower. And then as soon as she has a baby, it's like everything is fine. She is the perfect wife now. She's happy with Richard. Her mother suddenly loves her. It felt kind of like too much of a condition for me because nothing else mattered to her. As Sarah mentioned in the beginning, she was a free spirit despite being so shy. She liked going out, she liked going hunting with her dog, she liked riding with a horse. And then at the end, in the very last scene, she has 2 kids and she talks about how she spends her time flicking their stockings. And she's become very much like a housewife. I
do have like an issue with her being a housewife and everything, but I also think that like the way I personally read it is she is very conflicted about being pregnant, or less about being pregnant but more about the role that this baby is going to play in her life. But I still felt that nevertheless she was really happy about the baby. However, at the same time, like when she goes out to like save Alice, she consciously does a lot of stuff that puts the baby at risk and puts her pregnancy at risk. And in that way, she doesn't really, like, it's not her number one priority to get the baby or to be safe or anything like that. But I still didn't have as much of an issue with her being happy with the baby at the end. I mean, the one thing where I would have had an issue is if she had had a miscarriage and if like that was the tragedy at the end. The baby was the only one who died.
Yeah,
like,
it would have been a cheap tragedy.
Everyone else survives, but the baby dies. And I just also really was kind of, I don't know, I found it like a cheap twist that at the end, like the one the doctor's letter was about like the woman, like
woman, the mistress, wasn't a fan of that because the book starts with the doctor's letter where she thinks, okay, so this baby might kill me, I will probably die after this pregnancy, and then it turns out my husband doesn't care anyway, and that's like one of the big conflicts. But it turned out that this letter was only about the other woman anyway, and I found that kind of a cheap twist because she did have 3 miscarriages already.
and she does repeatedly have problems during her pregnancy.
Yeah.
So, like, wouldn't be unlikely that she dies.
And I mean, at the end, it's also kind of implied that if she had another midwife, if Alice hadn't come in the last moment to save her, she probably would have died. Because the midwife that they bring to her just tells Richard, oh, there's no hope, she is going to die.
Yeah, but that's also something that played into the whole, like, magical realism thing, where you're not sure, like, is Alice a witch or not? Is, like, this fox thing her familiar or not?
Yeah, because there's a few moments where things happen that you can't quite explain, where you're like, okay, this has to have been magic. But it's never explicit.
I actually like the way
Yeah.
that it wasn't confirmed.
I actually really like that.
Yeah.
Because it has this moment of, are witches and everything that they go through just a metaphor for the patriarchy and oppression of women? Or are they actually witches? Or both?
Yeah, and you, like, constantly everything, like, the actions in the book, that I loved, the actions in the book always told us, no, it's all just patriarchy. Alice isn't a witch. There's explanations for everything. But then the book ends with the fox, I think.
Yeah,
with
the book ends
the
with the
A, like, what's it called? The A in the mantelpiece and seeing the fox. But yeah, it was just kind of sad because it was such an amazing book throughout, like, the first, how many pages? 400 pages or so? 300 pages. And then just ends. I'm not even sure if I liked, like, Richard's decision to go to the trial, because it seemed like kind of unlikely that he would do it. I mean, maybe because he, like, sees her dying and that's what makes him change, but
Yeah, but she had been telling him, I'm going to die if I don't get Alice the whole entire time, and he was like, you'll be fine.
he's a man, of course he doesn't believe her. But yeah, so that I think is it. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving this video a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. Tell us in the comments down below if you have read the book
And what you think.
What you think, because I'd certainly be very interested, because again, it's one of those books, I think, where there's a lot of different ways you can read into it. And we certainly had some different things there. And all the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!
Bye.